cocoa deal for their drinks. Why? Because us, Gen Z and young millennials, are boycotting.
But Maddie, it's pumpkin spice season and I have to have my PSL. Yeah, you're probably right. We should give up. Except if someone were to tell you that in order to make the pumpkin sauce, it's 1/2 cup water, 1/2 cup sugar or sugar substitute. Put it over a medium heat until it's dissolved. Add a 1/2 teaspoon of pumpkin spice, 1/3 cup of pumpkin puree, and a can of condensed milk. You got your pumpkin sauce. Also, if you need to make pumpkin spice, all you have to do is mix a teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of ginger, a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and an 1/8 teaspoon of cloves. You got all the makings. No more Starbucks.
What is happening in Sudan right now is absolutely horrific. For years and years, Sudan was suffering instability. And now there's a war between the Sudanese army and RSF, the Rapid Support Forces. And this evolved from a past militia that actually fought alongside the Sudanese army. But now they have become enemies, and the civilians are paying the price. Human Rights Watch calls RSF the men with no mercy. Since this war has begun, more than 5,000 people have been killed, 12,000 injured, and millions displaced. By the end of September, a total of 5.4 million people were displaced, both internally but also seeking refuge in other countries. On November 11th, this is what the UN Humanitarian Coordinator for Sudan said. We continue to receive unrelenting and appalling reports of sexual and gender-based violence and forced disappearance, arbitrary detentions, and grave violations of human and children's rights. She then went on to say that what is happening is verging on pure evil. The protection of civilians continues to be a major concern. There are 25 million people that need humanitarian aid in Sudan right now. And now more than 70% of health facilities are out of service, resulting in malaria, measles, and cholera. And the children are suffering from malnutrition. The amount of killings and rapes and destructions of villages is reaching an all-time high in Sudan right now. And the RSF are on the verge of taking over Darfur completely from the Sudanese army, which is only going to increase the atrocities committed against the civilians. If you want to read more about what is happening in Sudan, Al Jazeera is covering it. There's also somebody that I urge you to follow here on TikTok as well as their Instagram. They not only provide the history and information of what's going on right now, but also resources and ways that you can help, books you can read, and podcasts you can listen to. This is her Instagram page, but she uses the exact same username for TikTok as well, and I will also tag her in the caption. This highlight right here, the resources, is going to give you so many ways that you can help directly, donations, whatever it is that you can do. As well as, like I said, books, podcasts, and other ways to learn about what's happening in Sudan. What I gave was just a small snippet of what is happening and the history. There is still so much more that all of us need to learn and understand when it comes to Sudan. Use your voice to inform everybody.
Systemic racism and the police murdering black people is bad. But what about the rioting? Do you condemn that? Do you condemn that? Do you condemn it? Condemn it. Rampant homophobia and transphobia is bad. But what about this out of context 2-second clip from a drag story hour? Do you condemn that? Tell me you condemn it. Just condemn it. Condemn it. Say you condemn it. Overturning Roe v. Wade and restricting women's bodily autonomy is bad. But what about this weird edge case of a person who said they just want to kill babies? Do you condemn that? Say that you condemn it. Come on, condemn it. Say you condemn it. Say you condemn it right now. Israeli occupation has to end. Genocide is bad. But what about Hamas? Do you condemn that? Say that you condemn it. Say that you condemn it right now. Do you condemn it? Do you condemn? Condemn.
Okay, the only way I'm going to humor the boycott fatigue argument is if you're an incredibly literal person, which oftentimes is not your fault, but if you're boycotting every company that is ever associated with Israel, yeah, you're going to be living in the woods in half a second. We live in a society that's like founded on capitalism. So there is no ethical consumption under capitalism because, I mean, hell, if most of us could break free of the system like that, then the system itself would not exist. Boycotting, for what's happening in Palestine, we're talking about boycotting, like targeted boycotting, where like there's a system organized online that you can look up the companies that are priority, like McDonald's, Starbucks, you know, the ones with the biggest impacts. Because I mean, if I boycott every company that's associated with global warming, I'm going to be barefoot naked in the middle of LA. Actually, light pollution. So I'm gonna be in the middle of nowhere. Do you know what I mean?
Another way black people and Palestinians are connected are through watermelon. You know why there's a racial stereotype behind watermelon and black people? I can't show them here for the fear of this video getting taken down, but take a minute to pause this video and go and look up black people watermelon, and you'll see all the different caricatures they have been drawn since I don't even fucking know when. These colonizer cowboys created these caricatures in order to depict black people as mindless and ignorant. Where the fuck did this stereotype come from? Well, in the 19th century, when black people were freed, black merchants would sell watermelon. Also, watermelon was domesticated like 6,000 years ago in both Egypt, Ethiopia, Libya, and Kenya. Because King Tut was eating that shit, bitch. Then it started making its way out to Rome and Greece, and then after the Arab conquest, Spain. There was also a time when the enslaved would negotiate contracts with the Saltine humans in order for them to sell some form of crop and make a profit off of it. Because watermelon was so easy to grow, that's what they were designated. While they never had their own gardens, they were allowed to have their own watermelon patches for some. Oh, nice. So post-emancipated Civil War, black people still continue to sell watermelon to provide for themselves. Of course, the elbow crust Caucasians were upset about this, which brings us to the stereotype. You know how a watermelon became a symbol for Palestinian solidarity? Well, it happened during 1967 when Israel was committing war crimes in the West Bank of Gaza. It's pre-Hamas, by the way. The Israeli government made it a criminal offense for Palestinians to fly their flag in Gaza and the West Bank. However, Palestinians began to use watermelon because, as you can see, it resembles the flag's color. Painting the Palestinian flag was also forbidden. The Israeli government got so pissed off about this that they shut down an art exhibition that was painting things that were just the color of the Palestinian flag. They were even told even if they painted a watermelon, it would be confiscated. Those cave dwellers are something else.
We your baby's here.
You think it's funny?
You know, we always ask the question, what kind of person and what kind of evil does it take to be able to let these things happen without intervening, without wanting something to change? And it is becoming increasingly clear what kind of person that takes. To be able to say the phrase, "we kill your babies, yes," and then respond that you think it's funny when asked if it's humorous is truly reflective of the most sinister, cynical type of person that could possibly exist, in my opinion. To humorously exclaim that you are involved in the murder of children. Don't get me wrong, I'm very aware that we live in a time where so much of the content we consume and the media we are watching is part of a larger political propaganda scheme. But to have entered a simulation or a multiverse in which I'm agreeing with the content and the point of view of Candace Owens more than most of the leftist politicians we have been following for years is truly terrifying. I don't have the words to express how much I feel like I'm in the upside down when I watch a Candace Owens video and think it makes sense. Like, it makes sense.
This might be a hot take, but I think if you want to stop people from talking about your war crimes, then you should probably just stop committing the war crimes. Like, tell me why I had to just, I mean, I didn't have to, but like, I was on Instagram and I follow Wissam Gaza. Tell me why I just saw babies with their faces melted off. Where do we go from here? Like, nothing has radicalized me more than seeing the evidence of Israeli war crimes. And if they're so fucking concerned about people turning against them, then maybe they should stop doing shit like this that turns people against them. They were kids with their faces melted off. I didn't even know that was possible. I'm laughing so that I don't start crying. Like, oh, maybe the reason that people on their phones, on the social media apps where you can directly see what's happening thousands of miles away, maybe mainstream media isn't working on them and that, like, the talking points aren't working because they are literally seeing the evidence right in front of them posted from accounts on the ground in Gaza. Maybe that's why people don't like you anymore, Israel. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's because we're all seeing, we wake up, check our phones, and it's dozens of videos of war crimes you committed. So, like, maybe that's the problem and not TikTok. Maybe you're the problem. Maybe the war crimes you're committing are the problem. Not us, not fucking TikTok. Maybe it's you.
Every day I come to the realization that I don't think I like men. Not in the way that you're thinking, because I love my boyfriend, but I just don't like men. My boyfriend has a fear of being cheated on, and I'm like, I promise you don't have to worry about that, because anytime a man opens his mouth around me, I'm like, oh, brother. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why. I don't know if it's because I was born into a family of matriarchs, or if it's because I literally see all the shitty things that men do to women. But most men seriously just make me feel unsafe and uncomfortable, because why am I taking a hot girl walk? You beep, slowly pull up beside me in your car, stare at me, I stare back at you, and it's not until I start walking away that you start driving away. Like, that's weird. Or why I'm waiting for my Uber and you're not my Uber, and you pull up and tell me to get inside your car, and I almost did because I thought you were my Uber. Or why you would start harassing me on the train on my way to work and start telling me that I would make any gay man turn straight because of my body, out loud in front of everyone. Or anytime I hear men talk about women like we're bodies or objects and not people. So yeah, can't really say I'm their number one fan, but I am my boyfriend's number one fan.
I feel like you're abusing me.
Oh my gosh, you guys, the strike is officially over. What a journey.
I mean, yeah, haha, that's pretty funny, but you guys are aware that the strike was for those actors, right? It was for the people who were playing actors and for the people who were just starting out. Tell me you guys didn't pay attention to a single part of the strike without telling me you didn't pay attention to a single part of the strike. Listen, I'm in the UK, we're not even striking, and we have felt the effects of the strike, especially people who work behind the scenes, because here in the UK we really import an awful lot of our production, so my friends have been really struggling to make rent because they do costume or cinematography, and there's been no projects. Like, I do get why it's funny, but it's just really demoralizing to see the exact same rhetoric that the production companies were using to justify denying people pay because they weren't proper actors. Everyone's got to start somewhere, and if there's CGI and all the extras, that's a significant portion of your starting point gone.
High school students from across Sydney are going to be walking out of their schools to protest for Palestine. That's 1:30 p.m. Friday at Town Hall. So, if you don't already know about that, there's already heaps of schools signing up to that. على عهدي على ديني على أرض تلاقيني أنا لأهلي أنا فديهم أنا دمي فلسطيني 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 أنا دمي فلسطيني على أرض تلاقيني أنا لأهلي أنا فديهم.
We have finally gotten a win in our case. So the Norwegian government is breaking human rights against indigenous people. Yeah, and we have tried everything to stop it. This week we have been occupying the Norwegian parliament. We have shut down Statkraft. We have shut down 11 ministries. But we didn't want to play by the Western rules anymore. So we turned to an old Sami tradition. After trying everything else, we went straight to the king and begged for help. Then we got the yes. He is meeting us on Monday. We will tell him about our situation and our lives and deliver a letter to him. It's a small win, but I have a feeling that this is the start of something.
I reposted this on my story yesterday, right? I've seen plenty of protest signs, but this one for some reason made me so incredibly sad that I actually started crying. And sorry for my voice, I have stress, but I just could not bear to not say this. Someone responded to that and said, "Aren't you a Christian?" But this is my thing, right? Just to be clear, I don't give a fuck if you believe in heaven, Jannah, rebirth. I don't give a fuck if you think you're going to the Bikini Bottom after you pass. You deserve to go when you're called. Not because someone else decided it was your time, because they just don't want you there. I don't know, that response blew me so bad, because who cares if I'm a Christian? Doesn't that mean that I'm supposed to be all for love and humanity? Bitch, I'm supposed to be loving thy neighbor. What do you think I'm trying to do? But you don't believe in their heaven, so how could you believe the road is crowded? Because they believe in that's their belief. Why would y'all upset me? Why are we trying to poke holes in people's religion? There's literally a genocide going on. There are bigger fish to fry. But you probably even never laid eyes on the Quran in your life. I'm able to support their beliefs because I'm knowledgeable about their beliefs. Maybe if you weren't afraid of everything you didn't understand, you'd be able to better comprehend where I'm coming from. If I had to convert to Islam to support Palestine, if that was the criteria, I would. But that's not part of the criteria, which is why y'all are blowing me. You can have different religious beliefs than someone and still support them being treated like human beings. What? Motherfuckers trying to tell me you can't support someone else's heaven if you don't believe in it. Bitch, with that logic, you'll fuck around and turn me into a convert. Because if as a Christian I can't give a fuck about someone else's humanity, then maybe this isn't the religion for me. What are y'all talking about?
I don't know why, but I was just randomly thinking about how I think every Phineas and Ferb character would feel about the colony of Israel. And apparently they're reviving the show, so why not? Let's talk about it. First up, we have Isabella Garcia Shapiro, who is canonically Mexican and Jewish. Isabella would be one of the most active members of her local Jewish Voice for Peace organization. Isabella would be out here dragging all of the white Zionist girlies who want to act like they're the victim. Isabella would be out here nah, what we're not going to do is support the colonial government that has literally been supplying oppressive forces in Latin America with weapons for decades. We're not going to do that. Then when the white Zionists try to tell her that she's being anti-Semitic, she'd be excuse me, I'm Jewish too. Y'all just don't have empathy for brown people. And since Isabella has a crush on Phineas, there's no way that this boy would be doing anything that does not also support those values. He'd be out here building her contraption so that she can, protect herself at protests and shit. Also, I think he's supposed to be Irish-American. Not sure if he's necessarily connected to his heritage or not, but if he watches what the Irish government has to say about Palestine, he knows exactly what the fuck is going on, okay? Ferb doesn't have much to say, but when he does speak, he comes with the facts. Be out here correcting people on the definition of indigeneity. He'd be well, technically, according to indigenous peoples worldwide, indigeneity is not defined merely by your ancestry, but about your ethnic group's socio-political relationship with the nation-state that is occupying your ancestral territory.
I keep getting censored, so I'm just gonna say watermelon emoji. You must think about the disabled people that live there. We talk about walkability in American streets and how we need more sidewalks. Imagine trying to get a wheelchair through rubble. So either people have to leave you or you have to find someone who can carry you. Not only just carry you, but carry you after over 40 days of starvation. And we've all skipped maybe lunch or dinner, and it's that gnawing feeling. But imagine that times 50, that just like draining, nagging, gnawing feeling, and it starts to spread to your chest and your limbs. Imagine, we've all gotten sunburns before. Can you, and just imagine a burn, untreated, trying to lay down, trying to get comfortable. You lose your glasses, you can't get a new pair, you can't see, and sure, you're not unalived, but you can't navigate your way out. There's an interview with a deaf woman who couldn't hear planes or warnings. She just had to wait until the entire house and the building shook when everything hit. You think about people with autism. Your senses are so overwhelmed. Your body is locked in freeze. And you can't move. And it's the biggest FU is that the people causing this posted this we're sending incubators for babies. And they are also the people who have cut off electricity. So you can't power them. Do you know how cruel that is? To give someone something, to treat someone, and keep it just out of reach. That's torture. That's disgusting.
Gaza is almost completely blacked out. There is no food, no water, electricity, and no fuel. You can see the attacks that are escalating as we speak from Egypt. Every day for the last several weeks, we've seen just how not neutral this issue is and what a genocide looks like in real time. And this is the day, if nothing else has persuaded you this far, keep in touch with the news that you can get. Check online sources, check people who have been keeping in touch with the people in Gaza up until recently. Do what you can. I know we're all going out for Halloween. It's a holiday weekend. We're all doing our things and living our lives. And that is what they were waiting for. They were waiting for us to look away. Don't look away. Continue signing petitions, continue making content, continue going to protests, continue making your voices heard, and more than anything, don't take your eyes off Gaza. Even if they're not giving us any content to receive, make sure your eyes are on them. We demand a ceasefire, and we demand it now. Keep your eyes and your prayers, or whatever you believe in, on Gaza.